Hey guys, and welcome to my final video of 2019. This is the time where I do the 2019 Miniature Game Awards. Every year I try to just celebrate gaming and the awesomeness that is on Kickstarter and in our homes and on our tables. So there's going to be a lot of different things to cover, lots of nominees, only one winner in each category, but some really exciting categories too that I hope you like and that you're probably not expecting. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, before I jump into this kind of award show style video, I just want to say thank you so much for an awesome 2019. Thumbs up to you guys, not to this video, because you guys made this awesome. Seriously, this year was a fantastic year full of building an awesome community and just talking with like-minded people about the stuff that we enjoy. And it's just been great. Board gaming is on fire currently, and it's doing super well. It's been great to know that more and more often families and friends are gathering together around a table to enjoy a board game and just interact with one another without all the fuss and all the technology and all that. There's plenty of time for video games outside of that time, but that time is family time, friend time, and it's just great to see that. Additionally, the quality of these board games have become so high. The production value is huge. All the mechanics are done well. It's just been a great time to be in the board game hobby scene, and then the miniatures as well. So if you just have a passion for the hobby of either assembling and building or just appreciating or painting, either way, it's a wonderful year, and I can't wait to see what 2020 brings. Alright, and lastly, because it is my last video of the year, if you found my videos helpful throughout this year, if you thought about all the videos I've done this year and how many you've seen, and if they've been helpful for you, consider supporting through Patreon if you can. Link in the description below. No pressure, but if you can, it certainly does help me stay independent so that I can do stuff like this and not feel inclined to give a winner to somebody that may have paid me for a video in the previous time because I don't accept payment. Alright, enough of the chit chat. Let's get to it. Now, I'm going to start things off. Last year, I did a mix between Kickstarters and board games, and it was just kind of a mix. So I'm trying to refine that a little bit. So I have Kickstarters first, and then board games second. So for now, these are just talking about Kickstarters. The first category is Best Small Scale Kickstarter. The nominees are Arceus, Cryptic Explorers, Okko Chronicles Beyond the Gates of the Jigoku, Valor and Villainy, Minions of Mordak. And the winner is Okko Chronicles Beyond the Gates of the Jigoku by the Red Joker. What can I say? All of these nominees were a great example of a very targeted view on who the audience is and what they want out of a board game. Like for Cryptic Explorers, that is not for everybody. But for the people who wanted it, that's perfect for them. That group could self-fund it through Kickstarter and get the game that they've always wanted. That's fantastic. Arceus, similarly with the style of game it is, and then from a small company, it's not for everybody, but it's still a worthwhile expenditure for people who are willing to give it a shot. And then Okko Chronicles is, I'm not sure why they're kind of almost an unsung hero in my mind. Their games are well made. The miniatures are fantastic. The card system in the game is actually really well done. The movement system's well done. There's campaigns, and then there's some that aren't campaigns. There's expansions that actually add to the rules and play a little bit differently than one another. It's just, I'm actually kind of surprised it's not as big as I think it should be. So that's kind of why I picked Okko Chronicles as the winner of this one. Next up, we have the Most Unique Kickstarter Campaign. The nominees are Arceus, Claustrophobia 1643 Soundtrack, Middara, Unintentional Malum, Oathsworn, Into the Deepwood. And the winner is Claustrophobia 1643 by Monolith. This was another tough one because it's hard to define unique, but in my mind, unique is anything that was, I guess, standoutish about the campaign. So for like Arceus, the fact that they added a whole dungeon crawl to the system and changed the legacy, and they did all that kind of stuff, along with like the 3D walls on the game board, and then just the setting itself just made it seem pretty unique to me. Middara obviously is on there just because their second Kickstarter, they focused a lot on improving the first Kickstarter, which a lot of times they don't interact with one another. You're either re-releasing the same thing or you're re-releasing it with some small new content. But they actually took the time to have these unlocks that actually replaced a lot of the standees in the first game that they've already delivered with miniatures. So I thought that was kind of worth noting. And then obviously with Oathsworn coming in, and it's super well produced and then kind of very focused with no stretch goals and all that, that deserved some mention as well. But Claustrophobia 1643 by Monolith was a really, really interesting Kickstarter, just because this was actually the second Kickstarter for an already unique Kickstarter where it was already made and produced and they just needed to ship it out. So they're just shipping out like the rest of them and then also offering a soundtrack, which was kind of odd because it's like, well, this is a board game thing, but really you're backing for the soundtrack. Kind of like a Blood Rage digital thing, but not, because at least with this one, the whole concept of Claustrophobia 1643 being pre-made was unique. Next up, we have Best Return to Kickstarter. The nominees are Deep Madness, Mythic Battles Pantheon 1.5, Okko Chronicles Beyond the Gates of the Jigoku, Middara, Unintentional Malum, the complete trilogy. And the winner is Middara, Unintentional Malum, the complete trilogy by Succubus Publishing. Alright, so this was really about games that were on Kickstarter and are now back on Kickstarter. So it includes raw reprints and includes additions to it. As long as you can still get the main game, the first Kickstarter stuff, then I consider that as a potential in this Kickstarter. And there were a lot of repeats here, and that's actually something I really like to see. It's so often that you miss a Kickstarter and then you're out of luck. But not anymore. Now lately you can actually get more. And there was more than just this. I just kind of had to nominate a few, and I don't want to overinflate it. So in fact, I don't believe I have very many with more than 4 nominees. But Deep Madness did another big one, which was very cool, and I was able to get in on that. And they added some Faces of Spheres things, and why this made it here and not something else like maybe Batman that also kind of did something similar is the Faces of Sphere actually worked for both a future game and the past game. So it was kind of this bridge between 2 Kickstarters as well. I thought that made it a little bit more unique and worthwhile. Mythic Battles Pantheon is here just because, again, they had the whole Ragnarok expansion. Same thing as Deep Madness, where it's kind of bridging the gap between 2 Kickstarters while still offering the original. Okko Chronicles is there just because I thought it was very well done as a small scale one. I think repeating your biggest success is a smart move. And then, of course, they're adding more to it. And their expansions work a little different than a lot of the other expansions, and each of them add some rules that kind of change how you play it a lot. Like there's one where you're suddenly can, pilot mechanical things, and that's not anywhere else in the game except in an expansion. So that's kind of interesting. They have like maps that are changing tile layout and whatnot. And of course, Middara for the exact same reason, where again, not only is it coming back and it's bigger than ever, but then also they're bridging between Act 1 and then Act 2 and 3 while still improving Act 1. And the reason it's the winner is just because it came out so much bigger. They did their research and all that. They got the game into the hands of the people who were willing to give them a chance the first time, and they had some struggles, but after a quality product and a quality delivery, the hype and the buzz were there, so that the second time they could go on Kickstarter, it was even bigger, and it was huge and well earned in my mind. The next category is the best Kickstarter deal of 2019. The nominees are Aeon, Trespass, Odyssey, Dawn of Madness, Middara, Unintentional Malum, Oathsworn, Into the Deepwood. And the winner is Aeon, Trespass, Odyssey by Into the Unknown. Now, this was a hard one to do, and I really want to focus on the word deal here. What I mean by this is what you get for your money. It has nothing necessarily to do with, having more miniatures or having the cheapest price or anything like that. It has somewhat to do with the quality, because obviously that's part of what you're purchasing is the quality. So it's both quality and quantity taking into account there. This was a very close race for me between Oathsworn and Aeon Trespass. And the reason Aeon Trespass kind of ate the winning deal here is because it's just $30 more, but the amount of quality miniatures and the sculpts you get there, and just the amount of things you can do there is outstanding. The epicness of the scale of Aeon Trespass Odyssey is bar none. The fact that you're doing trading and diplomacy and wars and, running from a nemesis and doing all these different things, it's crazy the amount of experiences you're going to get from this game. It's crazy the amount you can get from just the prelude. So for $30 more, you get this huge epic thing. I think makes it a slightly better deal, especially because that's $30 more compared to the standee version of Oathsworn. That's not to say Oathsworn isn't a good one too, and that's why, again, it was very close to winning this, but Aeon Trespass Odyssey, I think, is the best Kickstarter deal of 2019. Next is the best stretch goal for a miniature board game. The nominees are Demon Mount Golas from Dark Rituals, Murgo's Wet Nurse from Bloodborne, She-Wolf from Aetherfields, Spider Lady for Emily from Dawn of Madness. And the winner is She-Wolf from Aetherfields by Awaken Realms. Now, all of these were really cool stretch goals. The Demon Mount Golas, where you can actually put your witch miniature and mount him onto this big demon thing, and it's actually on top of the miniature, is very, very cool. And a fantastic surprise stretch goal for Dark Rituals, certainly. All of these are good. The Murgo's Wet Nurse from Bloodborne is one of the best miniatures in that line, and there's a lot of miniatures there. I think 124-ish, 120 plus at least in Bloodborne. So the fact that it's a standout miniature there is something worthwhile, of course. Now, the Spider Lady for Emily by Dawn of Madness is just a cool design. It's like inside of a room in a corner, and it's very big. It's just a very unique and exciting miniature, and actually almost won this. But you can't beat wolves in my mind. The She-Wolf from Aetherfields is part of a great expansion that they're giving, so it's incorporated with something great there. And then additionally, it's just a very cool miniature where you get kind of the full lady there, and then also the wolf and how it's kind of like behind her but then facing forward. It's just a great sculpt overall and something I'm really excited about getting. The last category for Kickstarters is the best Kickstarter campaign of 2019. Aeon Trespass Odyssey, Bloodborne the Miniatures Game, Dawn of Madness, Dark Rituals, Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, and the winner is Aeon Trespass Odyssey by Into the Unknown. Again, it just eat by several of these, but if you've seen my top 10 2019 Kickstarters, you kind of already knew where this was going. Best Kickstarter of 2019, from my experience, by far, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Again, it's just the scope and the epicness of it. There's stuff like Bloodborne and Dark Rituals here that are going to be fantastic games, I'm sure, but they are very focused on what it is they're doing, and just doesn't have that scope and that breadth and that range of experiences that Aeon Trespass Odyssey provides. Oathsworn might end up being my favorite game of 2021 or whenever it does deliver. I'll have to play through the whole thing. I've just seen so little of it that I can't quite put it to that level. And really, I just think the campaign for Aeon Trespass Odyssey, working its way up from just a miniature line and having all of these other Kickstarters building up the lore and a little bit of a following to then come out with the big Kickstarter is something that's quite commendable as well. Alright, now for the second half, we're going to be talking about just the board games that delivered in 2019. So if it delivered in 2018, it's not here. If it's going to still deliver, it's not here. These are just the games we could sit down and play this year. Starting things out with the best family-friendly miniatures game. The nominees are Arena the Contest, Batman Gotham City Chronicles, Clash of Rage, Time of Legends Joan of Arc, and the winner is Clash of Rage by Labout de Dieu. First of all, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. It's in French, so I'll struggle a little bit there as I don't speak it. However, Clash of Rage is a very, very fun, family-friendly game. In fact, for me personally, it's replaced Small World in that it kind of fits that same niche, but then has these great miniatures, really cool item gathering stuff, especially the foil epic items and the gear you can get there. All the races act a lot differently, and the combat, I think, is just a lot more exciting and less deterministic. And so it's just a really, really fun, bright, cheerful game with some great miniatures, great components, and it's just a fun game overall. That's not to say the others aren't great. Arena is great, though maybe a little complex, which is why it didn't quite win. Batman, again, super great, but again, a little complex, maybe why it didn't win. Same as Time of Legends while it works as a family, and I've played it as a family, it just doesn't quite work. Additionally, a lot of these are more focused on just 2-player, with Clash of Rage works better with 2+ players. Next, I have the best use of existing IP. The nominees are Batman, Gotham City Chronicles, Claustrophobia, 1643, Hate. The winner is Batman, Gotham City Chronicles by Monolith. Now, all 3 of these have some great IP that was pre-existing before that they're working off of, and really it had to do with which one captured the IP and used it to its fullest. And in my mind, that is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. It plays exactly like you would think a Batman game would play, especially with all the different scenarios and trying to disarm bombs that people are planting underneath, in the sewers and stuff like that. It just, all of the scenarios and all of the mechanics scream Batman, and it works really, really well. The fact that the river system is shared from Conan, yet this is still Batman specific because of the different scenarios, is something I quite enjoy. Conan worked really well as well. It's focused more on combat, which is definitely Conan. Batman's focused more on completing objectives, and again, that fits Batman really well. Hate is a great use of their IP, but it is just a skirmish game, and you could have done a whole lot more with it. It's still a great game, but when it comes to using the IP to its fullest, it's not quite there. And then Claustrophobia 1643, while Claustrophobia existed before, this is more of a refinement versus some, huge thing. So that's why they didn't win, and Batman is definitely, I think, the winner in this category. Next up, we have the best 2-player game. The nominees are Arena, the Contest, Claustrophobia 1643, Hate, Zombicide Invader. And the winner is Arena, the Contest by Dragori Games. And a well-earned win here too. When it comes to 2-player games, there's a few things to keep in mind. And one of the reasons I think Arena wins is because you can play multiple different ways. So you can play both the campaign, the epic campaign. You can play a one-off real quick if you want that, or you can play their PvP and draft a team or a party and do all that stuff. And so there's a lot of different things you can do with it, whereas Claustrophobia, you're just playing the game. Hate, it actually works better with more than 2 players, I feel, even if you're typically just playing 1 versus 1 at a given time because of the campaign. And then Zombicide Invader, just because again, you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So Arena had the edge of having multiple ways to do it and still doing it really well. Next is the best quality miniatures in a board game. The nominees are Claustrophobia 1643, Clash of Rage, Hate, Okko Chronicles. And the winner is Hate by Kaman. Now, all of these have some great miniatures, and I would highly recommend them to any of you. Clash of Rage actually surprisingly has some very well done miniatures, partly thanks to its art style, but it captures it impeccably. Okko Chronicles has some of the best miniatures I've seen from any small indie game, and I've been quite impressed with their miniatures. I've used them in several of my roundtables to compare other miniatures to them, especially their use of ABS with PVC. But in the end, Hate wins without a doubt in my mind. The game of Hate was such a huge leap forward in PVC quality of production from Kaman compared to their other games that their future games haven't been as good. Hate has some fantastic sculpts, some very crisp and good detail, some well-designed miniatures. The more I paint and the more I look, the less I see that I have issues with. There's just not a lot there. What you see is what you get, and it works incredibly well. They are still, to my mind, the standard that I judge all of my other PVC and ABS miniature game miniatures to. And so obviously they're going to win this one. Next up is my most played game of 2019. And the nominees are Arena, the Contest, Hate, Mythic Battles Pantheon, Zombicide Invader. And the winner is Hate by Kaman. Now, I'll remind you, these are just games that came out in 2019. I actually played a ton of Conan, but that didn't come out in 2019, so it's not here. But all of these games I've enjoyed playing multiple times. Mythic Battles Pantheon has a great system where you can pick what, who you want, or a lot of times what, side you want to play in a scenario, and the combat in there is quite good, and I like the way you kind of get hurt more and lose your abilities as you get hurt. Arena of the Contest has one of the best campaigns I have ever played. It is fantastic and hands down something I look forward to finally completing here very shortly. Zombicide Invader is just pure fun. It's Zombicide. It gets to the table all the time. It's why I always recommend Zombicides. There's a low barrier of entry to just whip it out, put it on the table, and play it. But Hate has been a standout skirmish game. My favorite skirmish game by far. The clan upgrades long term are fantastic. The map and where you're located and what you're fighting over is great. The savagery token system is fantastic, where you can gain some from rolling, so you can actually get some from defending even, or even if attack misses, maybe you get some, and then using those to do special things. It's all just great. Really fantastic game, and I've played that more than I care to share. Next is the best miniature of 2019, and the nominees are Grey Dominator from Chronicle X, Legendary Dragon from Time of Legends Joan of Arc, Master of Souls from Claustrophobia 1643, Randy Carter Visage from Deep Madness, Tyrant from Hate. And the winner is Legendary Dragon from Time of Legends Joan of Arc by Mythic Games. This was a tough one to do. The Randy Carter Visage from Deep Madness is breathtaking. It is an instant attention grabber. It's something that you are instantly going, wow, what is this game? What's going on here? And so that's, I think, really important for a miniature to really stand out, is just to be an attention grabber. The Master of Souls is almost the complete opposite of that, however. It's hard to make a miniature sitting in a chair be interesting. And so the fact that they were able to do that and just kind of actually did it to begin with, the fact that they even greenlit, let's have a guy sitting in a chair. Well, if he's a Master of Souls, that might make sense. Let's give him a cool helmet. Let's have him like gripping the armbands. And let's, all of this kind of stuff is just really impressive on their part. Speaking of impressive, the Grey Dominator from Chronicle X, the fact that it's floating and you have the stuff raising with them is very smartly designed, very cool, and actually quite commanding even at the scale that it's at. And of course, the Tyrant from Hate, just a very commanding presence. I love that he's looking down. I love that he's just kind of holding his gigantic axe. I love how straight he is. In this lore, it makes sense for him to be doing that, and I just really like this kind of the dress of skulls that he has. But the Legendary Dragon from Time of Legends, Joan of Arc, is just an attention grabber. It's well done. It's super dynamic. There are so many dragon miniatures out there, but half the time they're in such a boring pose. It's like almost disheartening. But this, he's like crushing a building, and his neck is wrapped around, and his wings are up, but not like symmetrical either. And so you can see the top and bottom of the wings, and it has a big base. You can do all sorts of stuff on there. It's just a fantastic miniature, a great set piece, and a wonderful thing to set on a table to scare the crap out of your opponent. Next is the best storage solution of 2019. And the nominees are Arena the Contest, Chronicle X, Deep Madness, Tainted Grail. And the winner is Deep Madness by Dimension Games. Now, all of these have great storage solutions, whether it's a save system built into a plastic insert, which is always appreciated, to foam cutouts for your painted miniatures to really keep everything nice and organized. But Deep Madness, for their 1.5 Kickstarter, did something that nobody else had done in this category, and that is their Profundum and Monstrum boxes. So what they did is they have this game that has all these other boxes and all these other expansions, and it's this huge monstrosity. And so they have these big boxes that have nothing but foam in them that store every token and every miniature from all their boxes. So you have 2 boxes to move around. You have 2 boxes to set on the table as you're setting up. And that's really, really helpful and definitely a consumer-centric mindset and something I really appreciate. All of these have that and have goods and pros and cons, but that is definitely a standout and why it is a clear winner in this category. Next is Best Overall Components. The nominees are Claustrophobia 1643, Dungeonology, Hate, Time of Legends, Joan of Arc. And the winner is Hate by Come On. Now, this was a pretty close one because all of these are well manufactured, all of these are well produced, and all of these have a lot of bells and whistles. But when it comes to running a Kickstarter, you can do 2 things. And what Come On normally does is just add stuff, just throw stuff out there. So you unlock 73 new heroes on a Zombicide or something like that. It's the same stuff as always, it's just adding more to it. And then they'll sell you stuff like a plastic token pack and stuff like that. Or you can make what you're offering super premium, and so it's almost a collector's edition or whatever. Because Hate was Kickstarter exclusive to begin with, Come On went with that make it fancy stance. And so you have plastic tokens galore and like fully sculpted hands for resources and, or food, and fully sculpted, skulls with a spike through them for your savagery token. Then when you open up the box and you get like this very thick plastic tray that everything's all organized, and the plastic tokens for the innocents and all that kind of stuff. It really, really well done. Not even talking about the terrain expansion or anything like that. Just when you get that box and you open it up, it's nothing but premium. Time of Legends had some very impressive miniatures at 15mm scale. Dungeonology had a great lid system, and it just, again, thick components, and everything was nice there. Claustrophobia 1643, those tiles, their cardboard. Monolith always does the best tokens in the industry, by far. They're fantastic. They pretty much feel like wood. But Hate overall, for everything it has, definitely won this one. Alright, there are only 2 categories left. The next is the Viewer's Choice Award. The nominees are Cthulhu, Death May Die, Hate, and Tainted Grail. And the winner is Tainted Grail by Awakened Realms. Now, this choice award was actually a poll I put up on my Facebook group so that people could add their own options. Facebook allows the polls where if I didn't think of the game that you want to nominate, you could make your own. You could write it down there and then say, I vote for that one. So that's why I did it on Facebook, and I announced it here on YouTube and stuff like that. I'll be doing this next year as well, but I really wanted you guys to have a voice in this video to say, what did we like? Just overall, this is like game of the year kind of stuff for you guys. And the clear winner here was Tainted Grail, with Cthulhu, Death May Die, and Hate following up quite close underneath that. But now it's my turn for the best miniature game of 2019. The nominees are Arena, the Contest, Cthulhu, Death May Die, Hate, Time of Legends, Joan of Arc. And the winner for the best miniature game of 2019 for a variety of reasons, Hate by Come On. This was my game of the year very early on. I even said so publicly as much back in January when I first got this. This was barely in 2019. So then every game that came afterwards, I liked it so much. It's such a fun game. It's so well produced. There's so many playable options there. There's so much to explore and try strategy-wise, and so many scenarios and all of that, that I knew that any game I got afterwards, I'd have to ask myself, is this better than Hate? Do I like this better than Hate? If I had to pick this or that, and I was in the mood for either, which would I pick? And Hate still, to this day, this late December, still wins out. Hate is a fantastic game. I've played it a ton. I already said that. It's well produced. I've already said that. It has some great mechanics. I've already said that. And what I didn't really say is I personally love the theme. I really, really like it. I thought it's done very well. And so, all in all, over all of 2019, definitely winner is Hate by Come On. So that's my awards. I didn't want to do a top 10 list because I think there are different aspects of different games that are worth talking about and discussing. And I really liked the idea of having nominees for each one. So all of these are great, even if I'm just picking one. With the top 10 list, it's hard to really talk about all the other games and why they're there. And you could do some honorable mentions, but either you have a whole bunch, in which case it's not really top 10 list, or it's just hard to say, well, this is good in this area and this is good in this area. Because there is no perfect game. Even Hate by Come On is not perfect, but it is a really, really good game. And so ideally, this is kind of the format I like to do at the very end of the year. I'll be doing another one in 2020, and I hope you'll be there with me to kind of go through that. What I would love is to actually hear what your picks are. By all means, do it whatever format you're most comfortable with. I think everybody does something different. Maybe you want to go point by point in all of my different, groups or categories and then list your winner, or maybe even some nominees for it or whatever. You can go that route. Or just tell me, what was your game of the year? I would love to know, like, all things in 2019. What did you love the most? I think that'd be great to then go in and say, okay, why did I like that? Why would I like, then when you're looking at the 2020 stuff that I listed, what about that matches that? Because knowing what you like, I think, is really important to backing better games that fit your style better. Not every game's meant for everybody, and that's fine. But Hate by Come On was pretty much ticked all the boxes for me. Alright guys, I hope you had a fantastic 2019. Have a happy new year. I hope you enjoy 2020 and that it brings you lots of gaming goodness. As always, I appreciate the views. Thank you so much to my patrons. Without their support, the hours I put into this video and all of the other videos I've done this year would not have been possible to the degree that I'm doing it now. Whether it's the voice recording or the editing software or just having the games to be able to play or just, picking me up when I'm feeling down to strive me towards doing more videos. Thank you so much for your awesome, awesome support. You all rock, and I hope you all have a wonderful 2020. I'll talk to you in the next year.